Hey, everybody, and welcome back, Mike. It's been a little while since we talked. Hey, buddy.
Yeah, it's been over 3 weeks, Jay. I was away. I got lucky. I got to go on a holiday, a little vacation with my wife. No kids. It was awesome.
Yeah, getting ready for the spring. Getting ready for the spring market, right?
Absolutely. We were in the U.S. and so it was really interesting to eyes wide open in the U.S. to really see what's going on, boots to ground. So lots to talk about today. Let's jump into it.
Yeah, and just to get going, sorry, I forgot to introduce. It's been 3 weeks. We got to add Jayden back from BRX Mortgage from Calgary, joined as always by Mike, my cousin, Mike Parkinson of Dominion Lending Centers in Campbell River. So, yeah, it has been a couple of weeks. A lot has been going on, but really, like you said, you had that great experience to talk about the United States and what kind of the economy is actually looking like there. But there's been a lot of news yesterday and today that is filtering through the mortgage market. I think let's start with the Bank of Canada's decision yesterday.
Oh yeah, like Bank of Canada, we knew this. They weren't going to do anything, right? They're going to hold steady. They with the CPI report there a couple weeks back that there was some rumbling about coming down, like inflation's down. What was it down to, Jay? 2.8, 2.9,
2.8, yeah. They expected 3.1 down to 2.8.
Yeah, it came in lower than expected, and there's a lot of talk about the U.S. or about the Canadian economy slowing down quite a bit. Actually, being much slower than a lot of the, definitely slower than the U.S. So there's some concern there. But I think for now they're just going to keep rates steady until really something starts to hit and start financial crisis, or maybe unemployment starts cranking up. But yeah, they're going to just keep things steady, and they're talking about maybe June, July now for the first rate cut. But honestly, it's such an interesting financial world. There's so much manipulation. Your guess is as good as mine. But then in the U.S., yesterday they came out with a hot CPI report. That came in at, I think it was 3.8 or something, wasn't it, Jay?
Yeah, super
much
high.
higher than they thought. But again, what is that? What's true about that? Like it's like the unemployment rate. Like really, how good are these numbers, right? What do you believe?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's another thing. So we're already seeing, like when you talk about unemployment in Canada, I think we're up to 6.1% now. We're a huge rise in unemployment. I think I was reading the other day something about unemployment being higher than it was pre-pandemic now. So we're heading in kind of a bad direction that way. So there's a lot of things going on in the background that maybe point, like you said, June, July decrease. And Macklin hinted at that as well. He said, that's if the numbers keep going in the right direction, things like that, you can probably expect something in the summer. But the interesting thing is that it feels a little bit the same way as it did when they started raising rates, doesn't it? Like it feels like it's all this stuff that's happening in the background that nobody's really paying attention to because it's not big media stuff. Is happening in the background. These cracks in the economy we've been talking about. And it was happening in the opposite direction. Inflation was rising, and these other things were going on, and the supply chain had problems and all this. And they started raising rates too late. And it feels like they're going to start bringing them down too late as well. And when that happens, we're looking at recession. We're looking at pulling those rates down a lot quicker than maybe they would if they did it a little bit earlier and just did it steadily. It's kind of an interesting situation to be going, and we've been talking about this for 12 to 18 months now, right? But it does feel right now that we're on the verge of heading down, and hopefully in that next June announcement.
Well, like I keep saying, Jay, it's comical, but in a sick way, right? Like people are really getting hurt from this, and I think they're already too late. We've talked about this. We don't have a crystal ball. We're not guaranteeing anything that's going to happen or what we say, but boots to ground. It's like I heard somebody say, I think it was Daniel DiMartino Booth or something. No, it was somebody say, no. Anyway, Charles Payne or somebody on the U.S. news there that, these politicians should spend a field trip and go to the grocery store for once and see what it's really like for people out there, right? So it's an interesting world. They say inflation has come down in Canada, yet everything's insane. Look at the cost of fuel. I'm not sure what it's like in Alberta, but we're $2 a liter out here.
Yeah,
So
162, and we're
high for you.
the oil and gas province. Yeah, extremely high. Yeah.
And so that's going to cause so there's really high inflation in discretionary goods like food, fuel, like that kind of thing. But I think there's disinflation or deflation in non-discretionary items things that people don't necessarily not essential stuff, right? So we're seeing a mixed bag there. What's it going to end up at? Are they going to get to 2%? I don't know. That's the question of the hour. But we've been seeing some bond yields moving up lately. Hey, Jay?
Yeah, and it's really interesting because it's generally speaking when things are happening in the background like they are here, and there's kind of whispers of maybe having rate cuts. You would generally speaking see those bond yields move down in the opposite direction, right? So, it's just it's interesting that it's happening. But you're way more of the bond guy than I am. Why don't you explain why is that happening?
Well, I'm not definitely not a bond king or anything, Jay, but thanks for that. But basically, like in the U.S. right now, there's less talk of rate cuts. So people aren't wanting to get into the bond market because it's not going to be worth it. If rates stay higher for longer, then there's no point. And also that just means that there's a lot of people are worried, and they want a high yield. They want to take, it's a bit risky to get into the bond market if rates aren't going to drop, because that's where you make your money. So they can't sell these long-term bonds. So they got to offer a higher yield, which pushes fixed rates up, right? So the higher the yield, the higher the fixed rates are. So it's just an interesting world right now. They need to sell these bonds for their debt, and in order to do it, they gotta offer more for people that are getting into it. So in a nutshell, I hope I didn't butcher it, but that's pretty much what's happening with that. So we'll see. We see that our 5-year bond yield, Canadian bond yields, jumped up to 3 points, or what is it at right now, Jay?
3.8, I think.
No, 3.8, 3.7 something.
Yeah.
Today, and it was just it was down quite a bit from that just even a week.
Well, even in January we were at 3.1 in January, right? So we really see a big jump there. But like one of the things that all of this is affecting obviously is affordability in housing, right? And so big issue kind of across Canada, very big political issue right now. And so thank goodness the budget 2024 has come up with a solution for affordability in housing in Canada that is going to make all the difference, right?
My God. Hey, so they're thinking of coming out here with this 30-year AM. Hey, it's for high ratio, which is less than 20% down for new builds. So,
but there's another qualifier for that. That's not for me. That's not for you. That's for first-time home buyers.
First-time home buyers. That's exactly right. So, well, out here, Jay, if you buy a brand new build home or something like that, you're looking at 800 plus. So that 30-year AM is not going to do a lot. Maybe in smaller communities, maybe out in your area, but it's not going to do much for BC and Ontario, in my opinion. So.
No, and it's a tough one. Like first-time home buyers, if we're talking about these people in their 20s, maybe they're going for that $550,000 new build. But I think the idea behind this is that people don't realize that one of the reasons, like there's so much demand, people are saying, well, why aren't builders building like crazy? Well, the carrying cost of the build is extremely high right now. They're paying the same interest rates as everybody else, plus because it's commercial lending. And so it's not very attractive to be building right now. And so the government is saying, okay, well, let's create demand for these builders, get these builders going. But the problem is that they've focused on such a small subset of the population, such a small thing. And so they're not doing it for resale homes. They're not doing it for anybody who's ever bought a home before and hasn't re-qualified as a first-time home buyer. It's specifically for new build homes for first-time home buyers. Do they think that this is going to move the needle in any way, significant way whatsoever? No. Absolutely not.
No. And it's like they're also coming out with using up to 60,000 now of your RSPs for first-time buyers, and they're adding another 5 years or something to be able to repay it back. But first of all, who's going to have 60 grand in RSPs if you're just a young first-time buyer in today's crazy financial world? Good luck saving money. That's the number one thing. And unless you're going to get, a good down payment from mother and father or family or something like that. But I don't know about you out there. It's a little bit different in Alberta than BC, but first-time buyers, it's tough to get people in the market right now because it's tough to qualify. And I can see even with a 30-year AM coming in, it's still going to be really challenging. So,
well, and that's the problem, right? So if you say to somebody, listen, like, and this is going to be the problem for banks and for brokers and things like that. So now all of a sudden we have to do two pre-approvals, right? And so you say this is your pre-approval for minimum down payment
yeah,
as if you buy a resale home. Here's your pre-approval for minimum down payment if you buy a new home.
correct.
And so what do you think that's going to do? Like, that's just going to, knowing that there's a little bit more room for a subsection of buyers in that market, I think, maybe builders will react to that and their pricing will change a little bit as well. You know what I mean? So all of a sudden you've created an incentive for builders to bring pricing up a little bit because they know it's not about, they don't care about the monthly affordability. Then the government is trying to give kind of show this as being a monthly affordability thing. They don't care about that. They care about the maximum amount that you can qualify for, right? And so uh, I just think it's going to be completely ineffectual. I think it's going to be something, the $60,000 RSP and being able to pay back after 5 years instead of starting to pay back after 2.
Yeah.
That's great for me. Any way that you can access more different kinds of savings for down payment, that's phenomenal. But this other side of things, it's going to be another one of these policies like the Bear Trust that we were talking about before, or the first time homebuyers incentive, which they try. It's just going to go away, or it's going to expand to a larger market because they realize that doing something so niche for first time homebuyers with new builds is just not moving the needle at all.
Well, there's a narrative here, Jay. Every time the government's involved, or we talk about the government, or they say something's true, or they get involved in something, they mess it up. So
Yeah.
they lie about everything. They say the economy's rocking and rolling. It's very resilient. Things are great, like they've said all throughout history. And then there's a major problem. Too many people keep following this narrative, and I don't understand it when they've never had a good track record. When they get involved in the mortgage world without even, consulting with the professionals and trying to figure out a solution together, then it's not going to work very well. So we know that,
and we've been calling for a 30-year AM across the board for years. People have been calling for longer. So, at any rate, we're in the economy we're in. Happy to be back talking to you after a 3-week hiatus. We'll have more great content next week. Get back on our weekly roll here. Hey, Mike?
Oh, before we go though, so let's talk a little bit quickly about the rates and products and what are you seeing out there? And it's still I'm seeing a lot of 3-year fixed is still really one of the big, because it's a decent rate, like today. And with all the ups and downs and nobody knowing what's going on, we have our opinions, but it might be something good for somebody that wants to be on a budget. Are you seeing that, or are you seeing more variable? What do you see?
No. 3-year fixed is king. I still believe strongly in the variable, but 3-year fixed right now is at 199. 499. Variable
on a high ratio, right? On a high ratio,
so and variable is at 6.3. You're looking at a 1.3. So you need 6 rate cuts to get to that.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's what's scaring people off, a little bit of variable. I think we're going to have more than that by the end of 2024. But who the heck knows?
Nobody. Yeah, your guess is as good as everybody else's. But all we can do is provide you guys with the information, and you guys make a decision that works well for you. So if you got any questions in Alberta, give Jay a call. In BC, give me a call. We're here to help you and support you throughout this mortgage journey. And I guess we'll see you next week, Jay.
Yeah. Have a good one, buddy.
See you guys. Bye.